Jai Sriman Narayan. Jai Sriman Narayan. I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagadguru Sudarshan Acharya Maharaj. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi. And I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I welcome all of you physically here at the Sri Narayan Dham in Durban, South Africa. I welcome those of you that's watching this live feed locally, nationally, and internationally. And I welcome those that's going to be watching this discourse on YouTube and in the various groups that it is subsequently posted in. I welcome all our ancestors on this, the second day of Pitru Paksha or Shraddha, and a small announcement in terms thereof, especially for our local South Africans. This is one of the most auspicious periods in Sanatan Dharma. Our ancestors are released in these 14 days, and in this time, if you attend satsang, then they have the opportunity to attend satsang with you. For satsang is only conducted on planet Earth. Together with them, the 33 million Devis and Devtas also attend satsang wherever a satsang is held in the name of Lord Sriman Narayan, Ram, Lord Ram, Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Vishnu. In this time, do not treat your ancestors any different from how you treat the living entities if your parents are alive and your children and friends. They should not instill any fear in you. Do not run and fright when it gets windy. Okay? They are your ancestors. It is through them that you are here today. They are down here to visit you. They want to embrace you and they want to be embraced by you. Do not short circuit their 14 days. They are here for 14 days. They want to spend the 14 days with you. No matter which day you observe your prayer, you must continue fasting for 14 days. You must continue taking your water out for 14 days. If you be rude to your ancestors, on the 5th day, you rush and you do your Pitru Paksha, so that on the 6th day you can go on with your old habits. What do they do for the other 8 days? Whose house will they go? Do you understand the dilemma that is caused? They made great sacrifices for you to be here. And I think 14 days is not a long time to give them total respect. It is only 14 days. So my humble plea is this As my Guruji has stated, in Sanatan Dharma, the observance of Pitru Paksha is one of the most important factors. Another factor is feeding the Gomatas, and another factor is feeding the Brahman. And these are very simple rules to follow in Sanatan Dharma. Very, very simple, but we have adopted customs and traditions, and we have complicated the simplicity with what Sanatan Dharma is or has been established. Again, do not rush your prayers so that you can be over with something bad. Pitru Paksha is not something bad. They're your great-grandparents. They're your great-great-grandparents. They're your friends. They have come to visit you. This is an absolute truth. Sanatan Dharma is an absolute science. Sanatan Dharma is an absolute science, and slowly but absolutely the material scientific world is realizing that there is no science that is absolute other than Sanatan Dharma. In Sanatan Dharma, not even an atom is amiss. Not even an atom is amiss. The 4 Vedas, the 18 Puranas, the Mahabharata, and Valmiki's Ramayana. Within all of these scriptures, everything that need to be known exists. Every single thing that needs to be known exists. Sanatan Dharma is not a religion. Sanatan Dharma is not Hinduism. And we at the Sri Narayan Dham is not teaching Hinduism. We are teaching spiritual science. Spiritual science for all of mankind. Whether you're a German, whether you're Irish, whether you are black, or whether you are Asiatic. 1 + 1 is equal to 2. It cannot be changed, and it does not belong to any race, religion, or creed. Similarly, Sanatan Dharma belongs to all of mankind. And I was going through the Chandogya Upanishad last night in preparation for this discourse this morning. And somewhere there in the Upanishad, which was written more than 5,000 years ago, there is a revelation that the high chant, which is called Om, when one chants Om in the human body, the sun reciprocates and chants Om in reciprocation. And this would have been the greatest myth had NASA not found the frequency Om, the frequency Om vibrating in the sun. So just a few years ago, NASA found the frequency Om vibrating from the sun emitting the frequency Om. And the Chandogya Upanishad was written or compiled by Srila Veda Vyas 5,000 years ago. Whatever, and I've stated previously and I'm stating again, that before I close my eyes, in these discourses, wherein I call these discourses, the world is Lord Narayan's classroom. The world is Lord Narayan's classroom. That the scientific community will be bowing down to the Upanishads. The scientific community will be bowing down to the Upanishads. There is no research that need to be done in any scientific, mathematical, geographical, in any of these fields. There's no reason to research, for everything is contained within the Vedas itself. Every subject and every subject matter is already contained in the Vedas. Philosophy, physical science, chemistry, biological science, accounting, military art, politics, mathematics, all the branches of mathematics is already contained in the Vedas. There is no reason to research any subject matter. All the laws and all the scientific laws that exist in the Vedas, although initiated by the Western world, they themselves took all of this information that already exists in the Vedas. You must remember that the British governed India for over 300 years. They learned Sanskrit, and from this Sanskrit they used the information in their favor. So, based on all of this, I'm appealing to those of you that are present here and those of you that are listening to this discourse. This Pitru Paksha period is not a mythology. Pitralok exists, and the fact that today is the second day of Pitru Paksha is an absolute truth. It is up to you to gather this information and to use it in accordance with Sanatan Dharma. Going back to my mainstream topic, I think Vedanta or Vishishtadvaita is absolute Vedanta, part 5. Are we on part 5? Yeah, we are on part 5. And at this point, I'd like to state that there is some interest that's been shown from various parts of the world, both in the East and in the West. And there was a question that was answered comprehensively by Vishwadhar Ramanujdas, our transcriber from Joburg, for the reason of Advaita and the advent of Adi Shankaracharya. So I'm not going to elaborate on that. We are also having lots of interest shown from India itself. And this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to create interest in the world by stating that the world is Lord Narayan's classroom. So we saying, and I stated on the Thursday satsang, that by re-establishing Vedanta, other philosophies are being refuted. And we refuting these philosophies with love. We are refuting these philosophies with love. For to establish the absolute truth, the relative truths have to fall away. The two cannot exist in one domain simultaneously. And we continue, and we stated that if you go and Google Vedanta, then the internet will show you that Vedanta has 3 sub-schools: Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, and Dvaita. And I'm stating that this is not the case. Vedanta is Vedanta. There is no reason to have any sub-school. Vedanta is absolute on its own. It was compiled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is absolute, and His instructions has to be absolute. And this is why Vedanta was compiled by Himself, and He did not appoint a saint or sage to compile Vedanta. And I want to confirm this. There is sometimes hard to grasp the teachings of Sanatan Dharma. It is hard to grasp the teachings of Sanatan Dharma in the subtle meanings that exist. However, it's my duty to break it down in its simplest form to you. Sanatan Dharma has been contained in the Guru Parampara. The teachings of Sanatan Dharma has been contained through the teachings of the Guru Parampara from 5,000 years ago up to this moment when I'm expounding it. Remember, 5,000 years ago, we did not have books as we see books today. And this information was passed on by the Guru to the disciple, and when the disciple became a Guru, he passed it on through his disciple in the perfect form until it has reached me through my Guru, Swami Sudarshan Acharya Maharaj, in its absolute form. And today I am passing this information to you. Passing down information through the process of hearing is called Shruti. Is called Shruti, and the Vedas state that the highest authority comes from Shruti. Shruti is knowledge learned from hearing by a bona fide spiritual master. The other type of information is called Smriti. Smriti is written information after the hearer hears this transcendental knowledge, then he practices it for many, many years. And after practicing this transcendental knowledge, he realizes this transcendental knowledge. And after realizing this transcendental knowledge, he writes. He puts it in writing. And Smritis are only accepted if they do not contradict the Vedas. Smritis are only accepted if they do not contradict the original instructions or verdict injunctions. So, Shruti is also called the Upanishads. Upanishads from Sanskrit to English means come sit near. Upanishads mean come sit near, and this subtle instruction will be that if you want to know the Upanishads, then you must sit near a Guru, so that the Guru can distill the Upanishads into you, and you can assimilate the instructions and the revelations of the Upanishads. These Upanishads, or Vedas, are not authored by anyone. No man has authored the Vedas, not even the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sriman Narayan, has authored the Vedas. The Vedas is authorless, and the Vedas is an authority in itself without anyone transmitting the Vedas. The Vedas is an authority in itself without anyone transmitting the Vedas. The Vedas is the breath of Lord Sriman Narayan. And Lord Sriman Narayan exists in his breath. And his total potency exists in the words and in his very breath. And it is for this reason that the Vedas is an authority on its own. Like I've stated, 5,000 years ago, it was compiled by Vedavyas in the Vedas that the sun emits the frequency Om. Is it not an authority in itself? Because yesterday the scientists found out that the frequency Om is emitted in the sun. So is the Vedas not an authority in itself? Do you understand? It is an authority within itself. This authority cannot be tempered or changed by any human or any saint or any sage or any Devi or any Devta, because this authority is the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there is no tampering with the Supreme instructions. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the 18 Puranas, and in it the Shrutis becomes personified. What does personification mean? What does personification mean? Jai Sri Ram. I explained in Krishna Janmashtami that Lord Sri Krishna had 16,108 wives. And many of my male devotees were very happy. They thought if Lord Sri Krishna can have so many wives, after satsang they can just go out and do the same. From the 16,108 wives Lord Sri Krishna had, 16,101 were personifications of the Shruti, of the Upanishads. And now these verses of the Upanishads became persons. They personified. This is the subtle and the complex science of Sanatan Dharma. In time, if you are consistent, understanding will dawn onto you that everything subtle in the universe has a gross form. And these Shrutis personified, and they are explaining in the Srimad Bhagavatam the nature. And I stated that these different philosophies exist. Advaita Vishishtadvaita and Dvaita. And I said we're going to refute wood scriptural injunctions, Advaita and Dvaita. And who best to find this absolute truth than from the Shruti themselves, from the verses themselves. They will tell you. And I also asked those that are viewing this discourse to prove Vishishtadvaita absolute. And unlike a few years ago, today all information is at everyone's fingertips. A 6-year-old child can run along this discourse with me. If I say prove Vishishtadvaita absolute, that child, even younger than 6, I had a devotee, he was 4, he could go into the internet, all aspects of the internet. And if I asked him to type in Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita and Advaita, he would type it in and he will say, Acharya ji, you are right. Vishishtadvaita is the absolute philosophy. It's here in the Vedas. How old child? 4. So now I'm increasing the age to 6. I am saying to you here physically and to the world, I'm not teaching you from behind the Himalaya mountains. I'm teaching you wherever you are. I'm teaching you in your lounge, and I'm teaching you through your phone. And from the same technology that you are hearing me, in that technology is the truth that I am teaching you. So this truth that I am re-establishing is within your fingertips. You don't have to say this guru does not know what he is saying. You can corroborate the guru and his discourse within 1 hour from hearing this discourse. And this is why I'm saying the world is Lord Narayan's classroom. I want interactive action. If you believe that I am to pride and prejudice, I am pushing a certain agenda forward, then you have the right to go and Google Vishishtadvaita. You have the right to Google Advaita, and you have the right to Google Dvaita. You have the right to Google the verses that I'm going to read from the scriptures to you and see if I made these verses up myself in my kutir last night, in between my building this ashram, or it really exists. Okay? So, this has never been done in the world before. This type of discourses have not been done in the world before. Prior to this, anyone wearing a orange dhoti, like Srini by there playing the Casio, he normally plays the harmonium, but he's lazy to carry his harmonium from his car boot, from his house to his car boot, from his car boot into the ashram. So now he started playing the Casio. Okay? And this is true. Six weeks ago, I told him, Srini Bhai, go to the cemetery and you will find somebody that's going to assist us with building our domes. you'll find somebody to help us with scaffolding. And Srini Bhai went to this big dot, and he had to walk through the graveyard. And there were hundreds of mourners in the graveyard. And when they saw Srini Bhai walking, they all bowed down to him. They all bowed down to him. Is it true, Srini? Yes, they bowed to him. And this is what has happened when gurus so-called gurus from India donned a orange dhoti, carried a harmonium and sang and danced. And people thought that this is the absolute truth. Because at that point in time, 30, 40 years ago, if you went into the West, if you was a Indian, if you could buy a dhoti, if you knew how to sing, and if you knew how to play the harmonium, and if you knew Sanskrit and Hindi, then whatever you said was true. There was no internet. The word Veda was a very, very great word. And if they said the Vedas stated this, then it was taken for granted that the Vedas stated this. And they took false philosophies around the world and entrenched these false philosophies in the Western world. So what we are doing here at the Sri Narayan Dham, we are unraveling those false philosophies that has been entrenched in the Western world. These same people, when they go back to their own village, they are unknown. They are unknown. They go into the Western world and they create false teachings with pride and prejudice. With pride and prejudice. And this is why the Vedas have no author. This is why the Vedas is authorless, because there is no pride and no prejudice. No pride and no prejudice. And I'm bringing this in to state that whilst we refuting Advaita and Dvaita philosophies, we doing it without pride and we doing it without prejudice, because it is stated here within the Vedas itself. So Vedanta states that whatever exists in God. Whatever exists in God. Which means that material nature and the living entities exist in God. Advaita states that the living entities merge into God and becomes one with God. Material nature is superimposed on God, and it is an illusion. And that currently the bodies that we are wearing is an illusion. This is the philosophy of Advaita, and they state when you realize the absolute truth through scriptures, then you are like a drop of sea water that falls into the sea and become one with the sea. So let us examine. If this world is an illusion, and if this body is an illusion, if this mic that I'm speaking through is an illusion, and then the scriptures which I'm reading to you is an illusion, then how, as per their philosophy, you can come out of the illusion? Because the scripture is part of the... Which world is the scripture part of? The material world. And if the material world is an illusion, then the guru is an... And if the guru, who is an illusion, is teaching you scriptures which is an illusion, how can you get liberated and become one with the Supreme Personality of God? You understand? So we're refuting this philosophy of Sri Adi Shankar and the Advaita philosophy because it is not logical. It has no logical basis, neither does it have any scriptural basis. It does not have any scriptural basis. It is not found in scripture. So I'm going to read to you from the Srimad Bhagavatam what the personified Shruti is saying. And Shruti is the highest authority in Sanatan Dharma. Okay? So I'm reading a verse to you from the highest authority in Sanatan Dharma, and I'm going to repeat for those of you that's going to be interactive in these discourses where I find these verses, so that you yourself can glean information that I have read, and you yourself can verify whether I've read it out of context or within its context. So I'm reading the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, Part 4 by Swami Prabhupada. I think he was late then, and his disciples continued this edition of Canto 4. Canto 10, Part 4, Chapter 87. And this is the personified Shrutis themselves offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when you offer prayers to God, you are addressing God Himself. That's when you offer prayers. And in this prayer they are saying, and I quote, "Because you are unlimited, neither the lords of heaven nor even you yourself can ever reach the end of your glories. The countless universes, each enveloped in its shell, are compelled by the wheel of time to wander within you like particles of dust blowing about in the skies. The Shrutis, following their method of eliminating everything separate from the Supreme, become successful by revealing you as the final conclusion." So what are the Shrutis saying? This is one universe. This is one universe that we are contained in, existing simultaneously with us right now in the cosmos, are billions and billions of other such universes. Other such universes. In this simultaneous existence of other universes, all these universes are contained within what the Shrutis are saying, are contained within the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as mere dust particles. You understand? When I say body, do not look at Srini's body and think in which part of Srini's body are these countless universes contained. When we say body, it means embodied. It means within. It means within. It means there is a form, and within that form, which is called the Supreme Personality of Godhead, exist these billions of universes. All of you understand? Because we are used, when we say body, to firstly think of the body of a human. Alright? Cats also have a body, snakes have a body, lizards have a body. And this concept that we're trying to expound shows that everything that exists within the parameters of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whatever is contained within God. This is what we are expounding. This is Vedanta. This is Vedanta. Okay? So I'm going to read from the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is also one of the authorities in Vedanta. The Bhagavad Gita is one of the authorities in Vedanta. It is spoken by Lord Narayan, who assumed a human-like body when he came down to earth 5,000 years ago as Lord Sri Krishna. Lord Narayan, who assumed a human-like body when he incarnated 5,000 years ago, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita. Again we say the Vedas outside the Bhagavad Gita is the breath of Lord Sriman Narayan. Then the Bhagavad Gita itself is now spoken by that same Lord Sriman Narayan in the form of Lord Sri Krishna. Let's see what he has to say in terms of whether we are embodied by God or whether material nature, individual souls and God are distinctly separate. Okay? So Advaita is saying God, material nature, soul, one. Dvaita is saying God, material nature, soul, distinctly separate, but controlled by God. Now let us hear what God Himself is saying. Which will be the truth? The saints and sages or God Himself? God Himself, alright? Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse 7. And this is Lord Sri Krishna speaking to Arjuna. And he says, and I quote, "Behold here, O Arjuna, the whole universe with its mobile and immobile things centered in my body, and whatever else you see, whatever else you desire to see." Verse 8, Lord Sri Krishna still speaking, "But you will not be able to see me with your own eyes. I give you a divine eye. Behold my lordly yoga." And then Sanjaya said, having spoken, O king, Sri Krishna, the great Lord of Yoga, then revealed to Arjuna the supreme lordly form. And I'm just going to skip and go to verse 13. There, in that form, Arjuna beheld the whole universe with its manifold divisions gathered together in one single spot within the body of the gods of God. What did Arjuna see with now this transcendental eye? What did he see? He saw the universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he saw these millions and millions and billions of universes on one spot on the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If God Himself is stating that everything that exists within Him, and if two saints, one Adi Shankaracharya, he stated that God, material universe, and the souls are one. And another saint, Madhva Acharya, stated that God, individual soul, and material universe are distinctly different. And if God is saying they are all within me as my attributes, then which will be the correct philosophy? This is the philosophy that I'm teaching called Vishishtadvaita. This is the philosophy that I am calling or called Vishishtadvaita, which is the purport of Vedanta. All of you here understand what I have done. All of you here understand what I have done. I've taken evidence. I have taken evidence from God Himself, because He spoke the Bhagavad Gita, from the Shrutis, which is the Upanishads, and I've shown you that the only absolute and true philosophy in Sanatan Dharma is Vedanta. There are no sub-schools, as the internet is saying, because Advaita falls away. Doesn't it fall away now with this truth that I have revealed? And Dvaita also falls away with this truth I have revealed. All of you understand? Any questions? Welcome back to Vanita Beni. When you arrived? Monday. Next time you go to India, you can expound Vedanta to the Dvaitas and the Advaitas. Alright? Tell them your guru from South Africa is refuting Advaita and Dvaita. Are there any questions? Any questions in this audience? Any question?
No.
No questions? Okay. I once again like to conclude by stating that me, in my personal capacity, I am an insignificant dust particle lying at the lotus feet of my Guru and my Sampradaya. Nothing you heard today is original from me. Whatever you heard, whatever information that I've given you is revealed information, and this revealed information comes through the grace of my spiritual master, Srimad Jagadguru Sudarshan Acharya Ji Maharaj, and that revealed information appeared 1000 years ago by Lord Sri Raam, who spent 60 years establishing this truth that I am now divulging to the entire world. And the entire world is the classroom of Lord Sriman Narayan. Jai Sriman Narayan.